He's been called a patriot, a warmonger, a defender of Israel, and a destroyer of democracy. To some, he's the embodiment of strength and security. To others, a symbol of division and political manipulation. But one thing is clear. Benjamin Netanyahu is the most dominant and controversial figure in modern Israeli history. From elite commando to globe-trotting diplomat, from political exile to six-time prime minister, Netanyahu's life reads like a thriller. But how did a soldier in Israel's special forces become the face of an entire nation's struggle between survival and identity? This is the story of power, ideology, war, and one man's quest to shape history. Benjamin Netanyahu was born in 1949, just a year after Israel's independence, in the aftermath of a bloody war that would define the nation's future. His father, Benjamin Netanyahu, was a prominent historian and Zionist intellectual, an advocate of Jewish nationalism. Young Benjamin, or Bibi, grew up in both Jerusalem and the United States, giving him a dual lens on East and West. In 1967, he joined the Israeli Defense Forces, volunteering for Sayeret Matkal, Israel's elite commando unit. He participated in multiple operations, including the famed 1972 hostage rescue on a hijacked Sabena Airlines flight. Netanyahu was wounded in action and served with distinction. But his military career was deeply shaped by personal tragedy. In 1976, his older brother, Yonatan Netanyahu, was killed while leading the legendary Entebbe raid to rescue Israeli hostages in Uganda. Yonatan became a national hero, and Benjamin inherited his legacy. From this moment on, Bibi's life would be marked by purpose: to defend Israel at any cost. After his military service, Netanyahu studied at MIT and Harvard, building a foundation in political science and business. Fluent in English and charismatic on screen, he entered the world of diplomacy, serving as Israel's deputy chief of mission in Washington, and later as its ambassador to the United Nations from 1984 to 1988. In these roles, Netanyahu mastered the art of narrative, presenting Israel as a bastion of democracy amid a sea of hostility. He became a media-savvy advocate during a time when terrorism and the Palestinian question dominated global headlines. His speeches were sharp, emotional, and unyielding. He didn't just defend Israel, he sold its story to the world. In 1988, Netanyahu returned to Israel to run for office, quickly climbing the ranks of the Likud party. By 1996, at just 46 years old, he became Israel's youngest ever prime minister, winning after the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin and amid growing fears of terrorism following the Oslo Accords. But his first term was rocky. Netanyahu clashed with world leaders and faced deep internal divisions. After losing the 1999 election, many thought his political career was over. Yet Netanyahu is nothing if not resilient. By 2009, after years of repositioning, he returned to power. Over the next decade, he would redefine Israeli politics. He focused on security, staunch opposition to Iran's nuclear program, and expanding ties with Arab and African nations, while aligning closely with leaders like Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Under Netanyahu, Israel shifted rightward, becoming more hawkish, more nationalistic, and more polarized. But with power came scandal. Netanyahu was charged in multiple corruption cases, allegations of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. He denied them all, claiming a political witch hunt. His supporters called it persecution. His critics called it the death of Israeli democracy. Even as trials loomed, Netanyahu refused to step down. He formed fragile coalitions, was ousted, returned, and played kingmaker in a divided Knesset. His political genius was unmatched, able to pivot from crisis to opportunity, from isolation to alliance. But his pursuit of judicial reform in 2023 sparked mass protests across Israel. Millions feared that he was dismantling democratic checks to shield himself from prosecution. The streets filled with flags, chants, and chaos. Was Netanyahu saving Israel or destroying it from within? Today, Netanyahu remains Israel's most influential and divisive figure. He's led the country for over 16 years, longer than any other prime minister. He's survived wars, elections, indictments, and global criticism, yet his grip on power endures. Supporters see him as Israel's iron wall, firm, unflinching, and visionary. Detractors see a populist who weakened institutions for personal gain. But whether loved or loathed, Netanyahu is inseparable from the story of modern Israel. His legacy is a mirror of the country itself, secure but uncertain, proud yet fractured, rooted in survival, and always at war with itself. Benjamin Netanyahu didn't just climb to the top, he carved his own mountain. Soldier, spokesman, survivor, strategist. He is the architect of modern Israel's identity on the global stage and the most controversial man in its democracy. In tracing his journey, we see the deeper struggles of a nation built in fire, caught between history and future. In the end, the question isn't who Netanyahu is, but what Israel becomes in his shadow.